Are all diets the same for weight loss and for blood pressure control? A new study in the BMJ seems to conclude that, but let's look at the details before we get too excited. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at DietDoctor.com. And as we've reported before, sometimes the headlines in the abstract doesn't really accurately reflect what the study shows. And this is another one of those cases. Now, to the credit, this study in the BMJ was a high-quality study. It was a meta-analysis of 121 randomized controlled trials and included over 22,000 people. So I'm constantly talking about, and at DietDoctor.com, we're constantly referring to the quality of the evidence. We don't just want to talk about evidence as if it's all the same, because it's clearly not. Nutritional epidemiological studies are poor quality studies with very limited conclusions that we can draw. But this study is actually the highest level of evidence according to our evidence-based guidelines, because it's randomized controlled trials, a collection of randomized controlled trials. And what they looked at was looking at the DASH diet and low-fat diets and Atkins diet and zone diet and what they call low-carb diets, and sort of combining them all together and saying, what's the difference between them? And they defined, unfortunately, low-carb as 40% of your calories from carbohydrates. This definition that just keeps getting put down, that a study from the Harvard Epidemiological Society, or actually I shouldn't call them that, it's the Harvard School of Public Health, but they keep publishing all these epidemiological studies that it seems like that's their specialty, and they define low carb as 40% of carbohydrates. We covered that study, but now here it is again. This one in BMJ, defining low carb as 40% of your calories from carbohydrates. That's 200 grams of carbs if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet. That's not even close to low carb. That's twice as much as our liberal low carb diet definition. But what they found was that the low carb diets and the low fat diets at 6 and 12 months had about a 4 kilogram weight loss and about a 5 millimeter mercury reduction in blood pressure. But the headlines read, low carb, no different than low fat, no better than low fat, but it isn't low carb, and that's the problem. Now, here's what's so interesting about the study. There's more evidence in this study that wasn't really reported. They do have some specific information, like for the South Beach diet. When you look at the South Beach diet and don't combine it with all those so-called low-carb studies, it had the greatest weight loss of almost 10 kilograms compared to 3.6 kilograms for the DASH and 2.8 for the Mediterranean. And when you look at blood pressure, the paleo diet, when looked at as standalone, had a 14 millimeter mercury reduction in systolic blood pressure compared to 4.6 for the DASH. Now, they also used the GRADE criteria, GRADE criteria, to assess a level of strength of the evidence. And for the paleo, it was moderate to high strength evidence, showing that it had a much greater blood pressure reduction than the low-fat diets. And then Atkins had the greatest increase in HDL at 3.4 milligrams per deciliter compared to a decrease of 1.9 for the DASH. So these are some of the details in the studies that don't come out in the headlines, that don't come out in the abstract, but instead we're left with low carb, no better, no different than low fat. Choose whichever diet you want. And that's not the case. So at Diet Doctor, we're going to continue to stick to our definitions, and we implore the scientific community to do the same, to define things better and more accurately, because otherwise it's just too confusing. These headlines are too confusing, and how are you going to know what to make of it without dissecting the study and reading the study? Well, that's what we hope these videos will help you with. And we applaud the work of the Low Carb Action Network and the Nutrition Coalition trying to get the dietary guidelines to redefine what it means to be low carb, because 40%, let's face it, that's not it. All right, I hope this was helpful to help you understand this study and help you understand where we need to go as a scientific community to make our message more clear. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Click subscribe down below to get more of the updates on the Diet Doctor YouTube channel. And of course, always visit us at DietDoctor.com, where you can learn about all our membership benefits and get access to all our free material there as well. All right, take care.